Hey, Elise, Pickett here with the Urban Harvest, and most of the videos that I do are on vegetable gardening in Central Florida and beginner vegetable gardening tips for Florida. But today I wanted to share with you the progress that I've made on my urban homestead. So I'm going to be showing you my garden 1 year later, how I have transformed a barren, small urban lot into an abundant oasis. Urban gardening can present its own challenges, namely small spaces. So we live in a highly populated area, Pinellas County, St. Petersburg, Florida in particular. And we recently purchased in June of 2019 a new house for us. It is a 5,500 square foot lot, so nothing all that big. And because of what I do, teaching vegetable gardening in Florida, I wanted to use this site as a demonstration site for what is possible in an urban setting, in small spaces, and growing in Florida conditions with sustainability in mind. So we have transformed this 5,500 square foot lot. We took it when we first purchased this house. There were only 6 species of plants on the property, plus some patchy, weedy grass, mostly sandpit. But we have taken it from 6 species up to 62 perennial species, year-round species here on the property, not counting my annual raised bed gardens. So we are going to take a look at the garden 1 year later to show you how much can be done in a very short period of time. We purchased this home in June of 2019, and it was a fixer-upper, so we were not moving in right away. But even without us living here, I knew that I wanted to plant for the fall garden season. I wanted to have annual vegetable gardens in the ground and producing for us. So as soon as we purchased the house, my very first thing that I did to the garden or for the garden was to make compost. Lots and lots and lots of compost. So I wanted to be able to fill my raised bed gardens with 100% compost made from myself or on the site without having to purchase bulk soil. So I collected 9 yards worth of material to compost. I used a hot compost method, and I was able to make 3 yards of finished compost about 3.5 months later. So I was able to get all of my garden beds filled with homemade compost and just 5 bricks of coconut coir. I planted my annual vegetables, and the day that we moved in, we were able to harvest our first food crops. So we moved in November, so June, July, August, September, October, November. 6 months later, we were able to make 3 yards of compost, have the annual vegetable garden beds installed and producing within 6 months' time. Had we not done the compost, we would have been able to get it going much quicker, but I was pretty adamant about going through that process and making it on site. The second thing that I needed to accomplish at this house and this urban homestead was to sheet mulch. Sheet mulching is a permaculture principle where you build soil using wood chips and other debris to build the soil fertility. Vegetable gardening in Florida can be quite challenging because we do have such sandy soil. So I knew that building the soil health was a really important thing. And I was able to use it to smother out the patchy, weedy, sandy grass that we had growing. So this entire front area was sheet mulched, and it's pretty amazing how quickly it does break down. We brought on, probably 15 yards, if not more, of mulch material within those first 6 to 9 months. But in just that time, it has turned into rich, healthy soil that I can now, if I choose to, plant in. It's pretty amazing how quickly it breaks down. And now, even though I have my raised bed garden, I can also plant directly into the ground. Raised bed gardening in Florida is the way to grow. I do have an entire video on the pros and cons of raised bed gardening, as well as how I was able to fill both the raised beds you see here, the metal ones, as well as the PVC ones behind me. So I have 2 videos on that topic as well. I have been chronicling, if you are new to this channel, the progress here, as well as giving vegetable gardening in Florida tips and tricks and things to look out for pretty consistently. We're at about 80 plus videos now, so lots and lots of content to check out if you are looking to vegetable garden in Florida. In December of 2019, the end of December 2019, so let's just call it 2020, I made the commitment to only eat the leafy greens that I was able to grow on site. I'm happy to say that I was able to accomplish my goal of only consuming and eating, besides restaurants or the occasional vacation, all of the leafy greens that we ate on site. I do grow year-round here in Florida, and I teach classes on a regular basis, including growing leafy greens year-round in Florida. I have an upcoming class on Introduction to Vegetable Gardening in Florida. It's a 7-part series that I'll be teaching online. So lots of classes, but a lot of what I try to do is think outside the box. So instead of just growing lettuce and spinach like most people would purchase from the grocery store, I was able to meet our leafy green needs because I was growing a lot of alternative vegetables. So we have all sorts of, I have 4 or 5 different kinds of kale I might be growing, several kinds of mustard. I'm growing things like amaranth and longevity spinach. I grow katuk and Suriname spinach and all sorts of edible leafy greens. Sweet potatoes, I have a video on that. If you're looking to grow sweet potatoes, you can actually eat the leafy greens as a wonderful byproduct until you get to harvest your root vegetables. So there are tons and tons of options out there that grow really, really well here. I do also have a Florida Vegetable Garden Seed Club where I send out 3 varieties of seeds once a month. They get delivered to your door. And each month we have 1 variety of leafy green, 1 vegetable, and 1 herb or flower for you to grow in the garden. So that's been a really fun way for people to try out different and unique vegetable varieties that they may not have thought of. So if experimenting and trying to create a more consistent and year-round production is something that you've been interested in learning about, the Seed Club may be a really good way for you to start exploring that area. We wanted it to be functional and productive. So I have different parts of the yard that I've utilized for different things. I used the front part of the yard as mostly a permaculture design landscape. We have lots of fruit trees. We have flowering native plant species. We have nitrogen fixing legume species to feed the other plants. We have very healthful moringa trees and fruit trees, all sorts of beautiful plants as our welcome to the house and as our show for the neighbors and sharing with the community. So we selected most of the fruit trees to be faster growing, smaller trees to maximize the amount of diversity that we could fit on such a small site. And we were very conscious about picking which plant goes where. They always say right plant, right place, and that is not without reason. So we picked things that were more tolerant of shade or more tolerant of sun and placed them accordingly. Now, most of the landscaping that we have in the yard is 100% non-irrigated. We did water to establish the plants, but beyond that, we do not have any irrigation besides our annual vegetable garden beds because we wanted to have as minimal an impact on our water resources as possible. So all of the trees and everything, once established, nothing beyond that. So we have Barbados cherry, we have jujube, we have Simpson stopper, we have moringa, we have avocado, neem and mulberry and bananas and papayas, all sorts of edible fruit trees that we've incorporated. We also put special emphasis on trying to select as much as possible native plant species for pollinators. Where I'm standing, or maybe a couple of feet behind me, was a giant Java plum. It was growing into the house, the shed, and the power lines. Had already been topped at least 2 times and had damaged the fence. It was non-productive and damaging our property, so we did have it removed. We were really selective with the trees that we did remove back here because having mature trees on the property is a huge benefit to the environment, to the wildlife, to cooling your house. It has a host of benefits. We did have to remove this Java plum as well as another oak tree that was rotting out in the center and was potentially going to fall onto our house. And by doing that, we were able to open up the light in the backyard, which was key. When we first purchased this property, besides the mature trees, there was nothing growing back here because there was so little light. Not even grass was growing. So we removed the Java plum. I planted this banana circle you see here behind me just 6 months ago. In 6 months' time, it has grown into a mature banana circle, or maybe half circle. It does touch the fence line. And we are waiting to harvest the first bananas off of our banana trees. Tremendous difference in a very short period of time. Another big light blocker in our property at the back was these giant sea maho behind me. They're not native and they were over 40 feet tall and blocking the light to the entire backyard. I didn't have the funds at the time to fully remove them, so we just cut them down to fence height. And you can see here within 6 months, they are already probably 15 feet high, maybe a little bit better than that. So incredible growth. Eventually we will be removing 2 of these to put in some fruit trees, an avocado tree and a neem tree. But a little permaculture principle that I ended up learning, I had a mentor. I have a video of her farm, by the way, if you are interested in permaculture gardening in Florida. Wonderful video to check out. But she was talking to me one day and I said, these sea maho have to go. They're growing so fast, they're not productive, I can't eat them. There's no use, they need to go. And she reminded me that every plant has a use. Find it. And I thought about it and I thought about it, and I noticed that the chickens always ate them. They ate the leaves, like a ton of it. And then I did a little bit of research and found that it makes really good firewood. So we have decided to keep at least 1 sea maho on site to be able to use it as forage for the chickens, as well as firewood for our bonfires and biochar that we do each winter. So we also incorporated some chickens onto the property for eggs. We got 11 chickens and have made them an enclosed run so that they don't have free run of the property to damage some of my more productive things in the backyard. We do let them out a couple hours in the evening and they put themselves back into their coop at night, which is quite convenient, but it's been a very productive way for us to get some healthy protein and fats off of our landscape beyond vegetable gardening. I hope you enjoyed getting to look at our garden 1 year later after we moved into the house, and hopefully it inspired you to see that you can really create a tremendous amount of bounty and beauty in a very short period of time. If you're looking for more easy Florida vegetable gardening tips and tricks, make sure to subscribe to the channel by hitting the button below. And while you're down there, make sure to hit the little bell next to it so you're alerted every time a new video comes out on Florida gardening. Have a beautiful day.